everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Outlet. I'm sitting here with Cassidy today, who is one amazingly talented artist, and she's brought along some of her work here today to talk to us a little bit about what she creates, maybe a little bit about the misconceptions of what you create, talk a little about the art form and the community, because I certainly did not know nearly as much until recently about what you do, but you've definitely caught my eye with your creations, both what you bring into the classroom and create in the art room, as well as what you've brought here today. So, Cassidy, tell us a little bit about yourself. We'll start off.
Just a student at McCain, just like everyone else, though half the time it looks like I bring your pet's head in all the time. I enjoy doing this just because it's a hobby. It gives a little bit of release for me. Spends a lot of free time so I can actually have something to do, because I need something to do with my hands half the time, and this helps a lot, along with the fact that I really enjoy it and I really like seeing all the new things people create, and it just gives me more inspiration to do better and different and newer creative things with my own work.
Excellent. So looking at these, upon first glance to the average person, they might be like, oh, this looks like a mascot to like the Blue Rocks or the Phillies or something, right? But it's much more than that. This is an entire community of characters and people that have human qualities but animal appearances, right? And so, how would you categorize the work of what you do? Like, what exactly are we looking at? Because there's also three different styles of art right here.
It's very, of course, all the anthropomorphic, which is technically what it is, and a whole aspect of seeing it. It's just a lot of, you could just see it as the first person seeing it is just furry. That's really all it is. You could look at these, of course, being as either, depending on the person who you ask, either just a fursuit or a fursuit maker. This would categorize as all three, of course, just because I categorize all myself in those three areas of being part of the fandom, a creator, and just the wearer of the creations itself.
So you can be a fan, but not wear the suits.
Yeah.
You can be a creator, someone who makes them and creates the backstory for them too, which we'll get into. And then you could also be somebody who actually just wears them, and so you do all three.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. So out of these three, is it okay if I call them masks?
I don't care what you call them. You can call them masks.
Yeah.
It feels a little more comfortable. Yeah, I get it.
No, it's not about comfortable.
Yeah. Because it's weird. It's like
they're characters, right?
Yeah.
So out of these three characters, let me give the proper respect to you for what you're creating, right? I don't want to call them ass.
Yeah.
Out of the three characters that you've created, which one did you create first?
The white one.
The white one here. Okay.
Yep.
And so, do they have names?
So the white one does not, because the white one was actually a costume design for a cosmetic from a video game I played. And I decided I already had the body costume for it. Why not make the head? And so I did that. And then I realized that it didn't look exactly like it, and it looked more so like a fox than a wolf. And so she is now kind of sitting there with her little headdress in my room all day. I haven't created a name for her at all, not even recently. But yeah, she was the first one out of the three.
So one of the things I'm noticing that you're saying, like, this is a her, right?
Yeah.
So you have genders then for your different...
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. All right, and so the second one?
The second one, that is the second one officially. That is the full persona of me, or persona, just kind of like a representation of if I was part of this wacky world, if for some reason or somehow we were like looking like this as our own people, then I would want to somewhat look like that. She is actually, that is the first design of her. Hopefully in the near future she's actually going to be getting a refurb, which is me skinning her and creating a whole new fur palette and redoing everything else.
Sounds so harsh, skinning her.
I have seen people, because they didn't like how it turned out the first time, after a while, when they go to change it, I've seen people because they disliked it so much, they decided to burn the old fur, or they just throw it away because there's no use for it, or they reuse it for something else. But the refurb is just renewing the head, really. Yeah.
And so I can tell there's a ton more detail.
There is, because I knew what I was doing. Yeah.
As well as, so even the fur is two different types of fur. So the first one, you have some sections like around the snout.
Right.
Here, let me move my microphone over. A little bit of like the snout here that's on there.
Right.
But then you have the fur over here. So that's a stylistic choice because I can see that you use that fur for the hands as well. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
I'm just making sure I have audio.
Yeah,
I don't want any mistakes.
I see it here.
It's like one of those paranoid things.
Yeah.
All right, and then the third costume, character that you've created.
Costume is honestly a fine word too.
Is over here, and so tell us a little about this.
That is, I guess we can call it Mystery Man. Don't have a gender either for it since it's just a skull. Having a little hard time with the name for now. A placeholder is just Hecate, like from not Romeo and Juliet. What did I say last time? Macbeth. It's from Macbeth. That name's from Macbeth. She was the leader of the witch group from the three, I think. That's more so of the creepier kind of characteristics I was trying to go for. A lot more gore, a few more blood like splotches here and there. A little more what I'm into a lot, along with colors I actually like.
So you're into more of a dark.
I really like dark maroon reds and golds.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so so your second one is a complete opposite of that.
It
using
pretty
the
much
purple hair
is.
and
Yeah, because I wanted to try to put in colors that I don't really use or enjoy, but make it in a way where I can enjoy them just as much. And I did that.
The purple with the gray looks phenomenal. And then you got this teal blue on the bottom, almost like a beard coming off.
Yeah, the neck.
Yep, and then two horns.
Yep.
On the top.
And then just those big ears.
Now, one of the things I noticed is the nose from your first to your second's completely different as well.
Because I had no idea how to do nostrils.
Okay.
But you can actually stick your finger in there and it'll come out the other end. Or just a simpler way, a pickable nose.
What will I find on the other end?
Oh, I don't know, man.
Uh-oh.
You might find Narnia back there.
Open it in the closet.
Yeah, the teeth were also done differently. The teeth were actually done the same way as the first one with clay, but both decided to get scurvy and they kept falling out. And then I decided to make brand new teeth and ones that looked much better than the last.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to pull this one to the front. All right, so this is the first one here. I'm going to hold it up for the camera. Is that a good shot there for my camera?
Yeah, Miss Scurvy.
All right, so some of the things we'll notice here is
all the teeth are missing.
The teeth are missing here. That's what you're calling scurvy.
Yeah.
But these are all made of clay.
It's all clay, and they're just painted, really.
And then you super glue these on, or
pretty much. That's
okay. The eyes here, there's like a felt.
Yep.
Is that accurate?
Yep.
And in the center, like a mesh.
Yep.
And then how do you see through the mesh? Do you paint that?
Yeah, it's just you have to, depending on the color of the mesh, if it's a different color than black, you actually want to paint the back of the mesh black to counterpoint any light that goes through and glares.
So that way you can see.
Right. Okay. And then you can just paint normally on the top side of the mesh. Normally what you can do is do a light coat so that, because a lot of the times what can happen is the paint will go over the holes and create like blackout spots and you will not be able to see. I've dealt with that before, or you might make the biggest mistake of painting it on like cardboard or like some type of paper plate, and then it dries and you go to pick her up because you're happy with your work, and then the plate comes with it and half the paper does, and then the eyes are ruined and they're gone. You can't use them. You can't even cut it off because it's so difficult.
Well, one of the things that I knows about this too, it's a lot lighter than what you would imagine this to be in your arms.
Yeah, it's also very durable. You could play hacky sack with it.
And did you have to sew this to
get
that to go from one to the next?
All the fur on anything that you see is all hand sewn.
It's all hand sewn. That is phenomenal. And so this is like a harder foam.
It's
here.
the same actually. It's the same kind of foam that's in there.
Okay,
it's just because of the felt
let's talk
that's
about
surrounding
that. So on the inside of these, let me see if I can get this, and you can tell me if I'm doing that right?
Yeah.
So there's this green foam inside. Can you talk a little about what this is?
That's just your everyday crafter's foam that you would find at like Joann's. It's technically, I mean, you can use that, but a lot of the times you want to use, I think the foam that you want to use, it's like white and it's a lot thinner. It's also a lot lighter because it's good. It's a little better for making stuff like that because you can actually breathe through it a little better. That one's, it's like density foam.
Yes, because this is pretty thick. This is pretty well insulated.
You'll get pretty hot in there.
I'd sweat my butt off inside this
Yo,
thing.
you would.
What's your field of vision like when you got these things on? Can you see pretty well?
Oh, yeah. That one has the best vision. Well, that one in the skull.
Really? Because I feel like with this being like recessed, it would be tough to see.
It's actually pretty nice in there. Yeah. I would know. Other people would know. The gray one, she doesn't have the best vision.
Okay.
But if I'm walking around and I need to do something, I can actually just tear her eyes out. You can actually just pull her eyes out. It's really funny.
Are they like Velcroed on, or?
Oh no, they just sitting there, and they're pretty snug too. But they kind of I wanted that because to have removable eyes, it's a lot easier to wash it.
Right.
And so I don't have to worry about the paint coming off.
I never even thought about that. How do you wash these things? They're so like delicate.
There's a lot of different ways to wash it. So you either get what I use Shout, but I dilute it in like a lot of water. I think I do like 16 ounces of water and then like 2 ounces or like 1.5 of the Shout, and I just put it in a spray bottle, and then I just spray it on mainly a lot of like either stains and then a very light coating everywhere else, and then I'll take just some paper towels maybe, or like a nice thin brush, and I'll go through it, and then later on I'll take wet paper towels that are completely water to wash it out, and then I will brush it again. I'll sit it in front of a big fan, and then you actually have to continuously brush it every few hours, or else the fur will actually ruin because of the water, and it'll get tangled. Yeah.
That's a lot of labor of love there.
It is.
Let's see the Macbeth mask here.
Yes.
So I've seen this go through a couple different iterations in my classroom as you were bringing in, I guess, the mock-ups to the point where you get the skull ordered. And it even looks different from when I just saw it a little bit earlier. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what were some of the inspirations for what you wanted? And by the way, for those who are looking at home or listening, this actually character has spring-loaded. It's open, and there's a little chin piece back here.
Yep.
I'm going to pull that for the camera operator. So as the person's talking, the mask can actually open up and then close down as well. That's really awesome. That's cool design. And this mesh looks like you can see really well out of it.
You can see very well out of it because the eyes are a lot bigger as well.
It's about the same weight as the other ones too.
Yeah, they're not that heavy.
Yeah, it's not heavy at all. So tell us a little about what's the inspiration behind, you mentioned Macbeth and stuff, but the darkness. But
yeah, just because when I was like little, we would always find like those fox skulls or the teeth from the deer. I used to find a lot of deer skulls. I think I found a cow skull once, and I was very happy with it. But then it's deteriorating right now. It's still in my backyard, and I don't know why, but I've always had like an interest in just like gruesome like skulls and just blood, and like half the time I laugh during a horror movie. That doesn't sound right, but I do.
No, it's okay. I mean, one of the things I notice here is like the snout has this weathered look. I'm assuming you did all the weathering?
I did all the weathering, yes. So anything paint-wise on there, that's what I did.
How long does it take to weather something like those, the cracks and crevices and everything else?
Like, maybe just an hour, really. Not that long. It depends on how much you're trying to get in there. Most of it's washed off just from either just sitting somewhere or me working on it, and it just rubs off. That's an easy fix. I just have to weather it again. It only takes me, one side only takes me like 15, 30 minutes. It doesn't take that long.
Oh, it looks awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like horror movie, like really, really cool the way it's done now. I see you shape the ears.
Yep.
They're ready to go.
Other ear finally on.
Is this going to be furred, or is this going to, like, what are you thinking back here?
So
it looks like a work in progress.
Yes. So all that red is going to, it's not going to be attached, but it's going to look like it's attached to another separate head that goes over it. And there's magnets. There's like these little bumps in there on the top of the head, and those are the magnets. So they will attach to a separate head so that it sits on there with the magnets. And then if I want to, I just rip the other head off, and then it's the skull underneath, and then all like that muscle tissue is still there. Besides the skull, everything just up to that, like that red stuff is going to be furred.
Okay.
Of course, because even though it even feels different because of the paint, which is what I wanted, it'll be like a darker red, obviously, and it's going to be like the fur is going to also be like a dark red for the ears, I think, and then there's going to be a lot of just, it's like I don't know what it was, but it almost looks like a Timberwolf kind of fur almost that I ordered for it. And that's honestly what all I have to do. I just have to finish that painting on the red, and then I can just start patterning it out.
So there's a lot of detail on this. What does something like this cost material-wise?
Material-wise, it's going to at least cost you, the head was like, the skull was $300, and then depending on where you go, along with sale-wise for fur and material, a yard of fur can cost you at least $20. That was like 3 different colors, so that's like $60. It's at least like $500 at the most for material-wise.
And about how many hours do you spend creating a character from beginning to end? About how many workmanship hours do you have at a table?
From the start to if I was able to make the head itself or just the creation, it's probably going to be at least a month to like 4 months to create the whole thing. One head can take at least half a year to do. It takes a while, but I mean, the end product is usually a good thing.
So it's a hobby right now, but would you want to do this as a living, or like what are you thinking? As a
living, possibly not, just because, I mean, possibly like for a side job,
right,
like a little own business kind of thing where I just do 1 or 2 things, tinkering here and there, selling stuff. But some people do it as a life job, and I mean, they know how to handle it and they know what they're doing because the prices are much higher because they need to live off it, and if they're living off of it, then they know there's going to be a lot of people commissioning them already, so they're not going to worry about them having a low amount of commissions.
Well, in like the movies like Star Wars, where you have aliens and stuff, this is what they do.
Yeah.
Like they're making,
right,
with latex and stuff.
Yeah.
So would you ever think about kind of converting your love of this to working, Hollywood type sets, creating characters? Most
likely. If the first 2 plans for careers don't go out, then possibly.
All right. What are the careers plans?
Probably in order veterinary sciences and then animation. But if both those go out the window, then probably something like costume designs. Depends on what works out.
They're all very ambitious, but you got a lot of talent. So I'm sure you'll do whatever you set your mind to do. I'm not worried about that whatsoever.
Yeah.
Have you thought about adding blood by the teeth or by like the joints or anything?
I thought about that. I also thought about taking a Dremel to the face and doing out a little. I've seen like scratch scars in the skull. I thought about doing that. I'll probably look that up a little more just to make sure I'm not gonna start making big holes in the skull and then I don't have a skull anymore.
Right.
I thought about just weathering it a little darker just because the weathering is wearing off a little, which is fine. That's an easy fix. But for now, I'm just going with the design I had for it.
Awesome. Cool. I'll toss that one back here. And so I'm also looking here. You got these hands to your second one. You can pull that forward if you want.
Yeah.
I'll slide this one over from the light. There we go. So looking at the hands here too, you got 4 paws, right?
Yep, 4 fingers.
So you do call these fingers, not paws?
Pretty much. I mean, the whole thing is a paw, but what your hand goes into is pretty much just a finger.
Okay. And so you put 2 fingers in one.
Pretty much, yeah. It's usually the ring finger one that goes into 2, just because it's the most comfortable, at least for me.
So I don't know where. In this one.
Yeah, it's whichever one feels more comfortable.
So you're wearing this, you're out.
Yeah.
One of the things that's really cool that you did that I'm so glad to see is you actually have
Yeah, the
finger
little
holes to grab things and to be able to interact. That's genius. Is that something you came up with, or is that someone you researched, you realized other people do?
I saw another creator that I look up to, that I like to watch a lot, and they're like, oh, this is how I drink my water at my cons, and this is how you can do it too. And I watched the video, and it didn't take that long. Almost regretted doing it because I thought I was going to mess it up, but it came out perfectly fine how I wanted it to, and now I have finger holes to stick my fingers out of.
And so this was the left hand, I think, that I had, because
Yeah,
you have a
I
thumb
think
hole.
this one is this one's the left hand. Yeah, because this one, for some reason, this one's like longer.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. I mean, the little details just make that such like a cool thing. If I can get my thumb out, there we go. And then and the way you have it too is you kind of take the fur,
just brush it over, and then it's done.
You're good to go.
Yeah. It's also funny. You can actually cover your whole face. At least depending on the person, you can cover your whole face with one.
I'm gonna move this guy back over to here. There we go. That looks good for the camera. Then I noticed this you brought in as well. What exactly am I looking at? What is this?
So that was a ragdoll I had created for my very first character, or just Fursona in general. I had left the fandom for a while, and the character was just kind of sitting there, and I had given it to a friend, and that was when, I didn't have the character rights to it anymore. I gave it to someone else, and I had completely forgot about that little thing I made, and I now have to contact the new owner of the design and the character and see if they want it at all. Even though they had changed the overall design of the character already, I have to contact the new owner and ask them if they want it or not. But that was the very first thing I had ever made throughout this journey of mine.
Are these individually glued to the sides of each other?
So they're parlor beads. So what you do is you take one individual bead and you place it on a little pegboard, pattern by pattern, and then you put wax paper over it, and then you iron it over, and then it stays together. Yeah, it melts.
I'm sitting there looking at it, I kind of see the melded part up here, but not down here. It's how is that staying? That's wild. I mean, that's really cool. And so you get your color scheme and kind of basically what you would have.
Yeah, pretty much.
And this also has this Japanese art type look to it.
Yeah.
When you look at even 8-bit, I guess. 8-bit Pokemon and stuff like that. It's kind of neat. So you don't have the rights to this character anymore. Now, when you sell a character or sell a suit,
lot of people.
How's that work?
So it depends on what's happening. So if someone is selling a suit but not selling the character rights, you actually are asked. You are actually asked to either change the suit and redesign it, because either if the maker or the owner of the suit doesn't want it anymore, they will ask you to change the suit up because they don't want you having their design. Or if for some reason they have two of the same kind of suits, but one's newer than the other, they will ask, do you want to be I can't remember what it's called, but it's when two people own the same type of suit, but the other person doesn't own the name of that character, but they almost kind of play as the other person, and they can go out and they almost get permission to be that character.
Sounds like a cosplay of something that's already
Yeah.
Okay.
It can be complicated sometimes, just because a lot of times a lot of things get mixed up in just a general art community, because half the time if a few things look the same as something else, people go wild. They go crazy. I've had people harass me and yell at me, being oh, your character looks too familiar, or you stole that idea from me. And I'm like, listen, I didn't. I had the same idea as you. I can change it, but Dad, I made it, and sorry to hear that it looks too similar, but I'll change it for you. Just know that I didn't steal it.
Wow, that's I didn't realize there's whole this catty world in.
I know. Even I have just a separate character for something else. It's not one of these. It's an actual person, and she doesn't have a leg. She has a prosthetic, and I gave her the prosthetic because I wanted to add to her backstory. And so I get a message later blowing up my Instagram saying, oh, you gave her prosthetic because you saw my post, didn't you? And I'm like, no, but I mean, it's a prosthetic. You don't own people who have prosthetics. That's not your region to call out. Even though it looks similar, a lot of people don't have have a leg.
So let's get into like the proper terms and stuff and like what people use. So the terminology that most people are familiar with is people that wear the costumes, they call them furries.
Yeah.
Is that a correct terminology in the community, or is that something that television has created?
That's something more so as like television and people have created. I mean, people who are in the fandom itself, if I didn't have any of this, but I was still in the fandom, then yes, I'm a furry. But if you're out and about and you're wearing it, you're a suitor or just a fursuiter. So if you see someone in the suit, they're a suitor. If you don't see them with them on, then they're just a normal person in the fandom. They're not like a suitor or something, unless they do have a suit and you don't know.
So the real terminology is not furry; it's a suitor.
Right.
Okay. That's for people listening and people watching. That's the first thing I think misconceptions, right? So that's really kind of cool to figure that out, because you're teaching me. I have no idea. So suitor. All right. So in Delaware, in this area where you live, are there suitors that you can hang out with, or is it like more convention center like areas that you can see this? Like, what's the community look like? Is it strong in this area, or is it just a few people?
I mean, I don't know too many people. I know there's a convention that happens, I think, near a bowling alley near my house. It happens once a year. I think it's like New Year's Furry Ball, I think, and a lot of people show up to that. I have 2 friends who are also in the fandom who also do suiting, along with they also do their own, like they make their own, I think. They live near here. I go suiting with them most of the time, but you don't actually know how many people in the area are part of the fandom, just because a lot of people do keep it quiet. Like, it takes a while to be able to be confident about it, just because of what people think about it, and along with you might think people will judge you. They obviously will, but you don't know how they'll judge you for it.
Yeah, so let's talk a little about the judgment side. So, right, obviously if the proper terminology is suitor, and I'm using the word furry when we start off.
I mean, that doesn't really...
preconceived. It's not offensive, because obviously the New Year's Furry Ball, right? They're using the word.
Yeah.
But I guess my point is, like, my first introduction to the furry world was actually through television. It was an MTV piece.
Yeah.
And so what that was about people that basically were meeting each other, going on dates as furries, hooking up, sexually attractive to the fur costume. And so is that...
that's the 1%. That's the 1%.
Okay.
The very lowest 1%. Yeah, that was Rainforest. Rainforest was very bad.
So what is Rainforest?
Rainforest was a con. I don't remember where, but it happened at a Hilton hotel. Most cons do, no matter where you go. Even if it's not like a convention for this, they always happen like a Hilton Hill or something. And during the time of the con, people were doing all these disgusting things. They were completely destroying the hotel rooms and making big messes. Toilets were clogged everywhere for some reason, somehow. It was disgusting.
And so that's people's first impression of the suiting world.
Pretty
and that
much.
Unfortunately is what became the mainstream narrative.
Yeah.
So when people see suitors, a lot of times I think what they probably improperly are going, they're taking that 1%, the people that are going, oh gee, this is an odd thing instead. But really, what I'm hearing is this is more akin to going out for Halloween and getting in the character and really enjoying the character you're playing, or in the Comic-Con world, going and dressing as a character and just enjoying your day in that personality. It's very similar to this.
Is that pretty much. Yeah. Being able to just dress up and then, go out with a friend or two and just have fun, not really care what anyone says. And you can almost go anywhere, really. Most people or all people really like it, and they enjoy it. And I know it sounds, of course, funny, but, a lot of kids like it. It's funny to see them, run up and it's like, oh, my God, look, it's the Easter Bunny. Yeah.
I don't know. I think my kid sees the one on the far right running up to him, and he's going to be a little scared. But
yeah, I think so, too.
I think it'll be okay. So, as you're going out with these type of things, could could you go to the mall with this? Like, what's that look like?
Yeah, depending on the event and what's going on. If it's Halloween, then you can get away with it because Halloween is almost like there's no laws anymore. But, of course there is. But if you're going to go out, like, into shops and, like, at a mall or shopping centers, you have to either call the area or you have to call the mall itself and tell them and ask. You have to actually ask if you can, because you can't just tell them, because then it's not okay. It might not be okay with them at all. It affects the shoppers, it affects the shopkeepers, and then it'll affect everything else. And then if you're not telling someone that you're going to be doing this, a lot of people are going to freak out because there's this big animal, walking around, interacting with either younger people or freaking others out, and then they don't know, and then security is gonna, probably jump you or throw you out, and then you didn't do anything wrong, and
right.
They might not have known that, or they did know, and they know you didn't do anything wrong, but then that's their policy now, where they pretty much, you're creating a disturbance, and it's being a bother, so you have to leave.
So the main gatherings are whether you and your friends choose to gather or if there's a con. That's basically your options to go out.
Unless you go to a public area. If it's like public area, like if you're walking in, like I remember walking around University Delaware's campus. That's fine. Like I did that and it was perfectly fine. Everyone loved it. Or if you go to a public park, that's fine. It's public area. It's just you can't go into like, private owned businesses or something unless you're going in to like go eat. Just take it off and you're fine.
So historically, when does this begin? When does shooting become a thing? Is this like the 80s, the 70s, the 90s?
Yeah, I think it was the whole thing started around the 70s or 60s. I think it was more so the 70s, and then more so into the late 70s into maybe like the 80s they started shooting. Just because I don't know the full beginning of it. It's also just complicated because you don't know about it, and most of it's not even shown. There have been other documentaries that like perfectly have shown people what it actually is. I know there was The Fandom, which is the whole movie documentary about it, which amazingly like explained everything for everyone. And then there was the World of Weird. That one was really good. That one was pretty cute. And apparently it can also just be a big outlet for people that I learned, like, who are coming home from the military. They will actually adapt into this because they can feel a lot more confident because they've been away for so long. They can't adapt into society again without being awkward or these, mental illnesses. And then they can just put that on and they're completely fine. They feel confident in themselves and they can go out and they can have fun with friends.
That's fascinating. So it's almost like a form of therapy for someone with PTSD or readjusting?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't say, it's the cure for your PS.
No,
yeah.
but it's being used for some people as a way of coping. And
yeah.
That's fascinating. That's awesome. So you go down to like University of Delaware, you're walking around. What are some things that people hear? Because obviously you're going to have people that love these, and you're also going to have people that think this is, as you said, the world of weird, right?
Right.
So if you think that it's weird, what are some of like the hateful things that you guys hear?
Normally you hear a lot more worse things on social media because a lot of times they might not say it to your face, but in person,
muscles, right.
Oh yeah. In person, I've like heard, oh, what is that? Or did you see that? Or what is that? Or hey, come here, we want to talk to you or something. That one's kind of like they want to come talk to you, see what's going on, ask you about it, and that one's fine. If you're online, then it's going to be a lot worse. You'll get people sending death threats. You'll get people gathering like their own friends to pretty much, gang up on you and say, oh, go kill yourself or something, or, You'll hear a lot of probably one of my favorite ones, but one of the most unoriginal ones that aren't really funny in them anymore is, it's hunting season. That one, it's, for some reason it's funny to me, but it's so old because so many people use it. It's like, are you even original anymore? Look, I can be original. Can you? Like,
right. I mean, do you ever worry about your safety?
Not necessarily, no. If I'm with someone else, then I know I'm fine. Normally, I don't go alone either way because you kind of need a handler anyway or some second person there to look after you. But yeah, I'm never concerned about my own safety, honestly. And if I was, you're in public. Like,
right.
if
So,
someone, yeah,
we live in a weird world
Yeah.
right now. Like,
Yeah.
I worry about stuff like that, and I don't wear. I'm not
Yeah.
a suitor, right? I'm just walking with
Right.
my children. I still worry about
yeah.
where people are mentally and everything
Yeah.
else in today's society.
I worry more so about myself when I'm out of suit when I'm in it.
Right.
Yeah. I get a lot more anxious when I'm out of the suit than when I'm in it for some reason. Why? I don't know, but I just
having
do.
a daughter, I understand that. So, like,
Yeah.
I got worried for her. And then, so all of these characters have their own personalities, right? And so when
Pretty
you
much.
meet different suitors,
Yeah.
you're playing the personality, just like if you were to go to see a sports game, the Philly Fanatics, this crazy character,
Yeah.
right? It's got his backstory. Do you plan on creating backstories for each of your characters as part of what you do?
I'm not sure, just because a lot of times I just like to create the characters either for just fun or possibly almost like a lot of people will create different characters for like event character. I know probably Hecate is more so like showing a lot more of my interests, like a lot of like that, gory kind of skull kind of thing, and I can, be creepy and whatnot. And the gray one is really, it's just me. It's just a design I came up with that I really enjoyed, and I can just be myself in it no matter what. I haven't actually worn the white one out before, or I just haven't in a while, so I don't necessarily know what to do with it. I have another design I'm making now. It is another canine, of course. I decided to make it a Chihuahua, but I'm going to make it, his name is going to be like Foam, or I think I'm going to name him Blank, I don't know yet, but he will be completely like a seafoam green, like the ones inside there, and he's just going to be that color, because almost when you look at a base of the suit, it's like anything can happen with it, and it's almost like a blank canvas. You can do anything with it, go wherever you want, and you can make it whatever you want. So I want that one to be more so of something I can be a lot more outgoing with than I am just with these, along with the choice of the Chihuahua, probably because a lot of my friends call me like small, and if I get angry I look like an angry dog or a cat, and I thought that was funny, so I used that as well.
So you said you can be more yourself when you're in this costume.
Yeah.
Tell us, what is your personality? Who are you?
I'm just a normal student like any other person, but
Give me
yeah.
Give me 4 words to
Yeah.
describe yourself.
Timid. I can be anxious. I can get paranoid pretty easily. But and I guess I'm just pretty creative, as you can see. But if I'm in that head, I'm a lot more outgoing. It's funny because because I'm more outgoing, I chase people around and, we just make fun. I can be a lot more social than I am now. Like normally if my mom tells me, oh, go ask that person for where's the restroom or something, I'm like, I'm not going to go ask them for the restroom. You go ask for the restroom. I'm just going to sit here. I don't want to go anywhere. I can just, almost be like this little bouncy ball that's just everywhere, and you toss it to the ceiling, it's just going to go everywhere in the room. Or like if you're letting go of a balloon, it flies everywhere. I don't know. I guess I can see it more like that.
Awesome. And so you do this more as a hobby.
Yeah.
What you're doing. If somebody wants to be able to kind of follow what you're creating, do you have social media to do that? Do you have a spot where people go?
Yeah, I usually just use my Instagram a lot, which is rabid.monsters.
And that's RABID.monsters. Only one B in rabid.
Yeah. For some reason, I don't know if I'm spelling it wrong. I hope not. But people use rabid as if there's 2 B's in the middle. Maybe, I don't know.
I'd have to look up the word, honestly.
Yeah,
it's not a word I spell every day.
I do not think rabid
rabies
with 2
has
B's.
2 B's in it, I think. But I'm not sure rabid does.
Right.
I'll have to find that out.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you could go the rabid.monsters, 1B, and so you can see your work. And then I know that this is a hobby. You're a full-time student. You have a job.
Yeah.
Are you open to doing commissioned work from people?
I am. I have one now. I haven't been working on it too much just because I have to balance all these different things since I'm working a lot. But I would take commissions depending on what it was, unless if you're giving me something like as complicated as like Beauty of the Beast with like this huge smile and all these like different color codes and patterns, I can't do that. You're gonna end up with like some kind of mush of a head. Sorry, but give me a little more something simpler that I can do.
Well, if somebody likes the style that you're already doing, you know.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to guess from the hours that you told me and the math I did earlier on this, you're looking around $2,000 probably on a $1,500 to $2,000 for a commission piece.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
If you want just a head and possibly some hands and some arm sleeves, then it's going to be at least almost $1,500.
Somebody wanted the full body, want the two legs, the tail, everything else. What are we looking?
If you wanted a whole suit, everything included, you're going to look about like $35,000 to $5,000. Okay. It's expensive. But it's because you have to put in, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I don't see that as expensive, right? Like, you know, being in the world of video and photography, people all the time are like, oh, that's expensive.
Yeah, you have money.
Really? It's not that
yeah.
Let me clarify. I don't see asking $3,500 as expensive.
Right.
For the amount of work. What I was going to relate that to is like when you take photographs, right?
Yeah.
People are like, oh, what do? You take a photograph, you go home, and you give me the photos? No, it's not that. I take the photo and I spend the next 80 hours processing your photos and then delivering, 2,000 photos to you from your wedding. There's time for my seat time, right?
Yeah.
All the gear that I own, all the stuff you have for upkeep, your sewing machines and everything else. So, my point to that is don't sell yourself short of like, it's really expensive.
Yeah.
No, it's your time, and your time's worth something, right? And you're really talented at what you do. So that's important. So some misconceptions that I think that I had and that other people had possibly listening to this are that furries were kind of this dating type of thing where people all got together as part of like a relationship thing.
Yeah.
But what you've told me today is that fetish side. That's the 1%.
Yeah, that's like the 1% of people who are.
And the other thing I had heard is like people that are attracted to this would be attracted to animals.
Yeah,
and I always thought that's absurd too. And
it is. Yeah, it really is.
So you don't have any like obsessions with animals and be like, wow, that chihuahua, that cat, like it's
oh god,
sure.
Yeah,
just want to be thorough in my questioning.
That's what a lot of people think.
And that's ignorance from people.
It's honestly like slapping your hand to your forehead. It's just kind of like, really, you think that? For some reason, there have been recent news about people who I used to look up to, who have been shown that they've done these actions, and my heart sank, my heart broke. This big creator, I was just like, you did that? Oh my god. And it's not complicated since I know what they did, and the evidence was put out there, and not too many people support the creator anymore. I even unfollowed them on any type of social media I had, and just completely just said, I just turned away, and I was like, sorry, but you did those very bad things, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to find fringe people and everything. Look at filmmakers, right?
Yeah.
Not every filmmaker is bad, but there's been some filmmakers that have taken advantage of women, taken advantage of men, done some really bad things with their power along the way. So you find it in every industry, unfortunately, along the way. So the last thing is, your artistic talent that you have. I've seen you draw, and I think I'd asked you before about stuff like if you ever thought about creating comic books for them.
Yeah.
You have an interest in animation, creating an animated series for them. But where did your art talent come from? Dad, mom, like who's got the arts?
Yeah, the mom side definitely. I don't know how that works DNA-wise, but apparently things can actually be passed down, which is weird. Like my sister got musical talent from like my mother's uncle, and I'm like, that shouldn't work like that because that doesn't make sense.
It's written in the DNA.
Somehow.
Seriously, it is.
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, I don't know how.
It's a powerful thing.
Yeah. But I mainly got it from my mom. She still also got the art kind of stuff from her too. But yeah, it mainly all came from, the mom side. She sculpted for a while, and she's really good at it. She drew a lot when she was younger. She does a lot of leather work. She does also like crystals, not like real crystals, but like one you kind of just, they're sticky and you put them on something. She did that a lot for like her bike. She made a lot of stuff for her motorcycle. I know she made grips. She was able to send in her own leather to have bags made. She like sparkled up this whole like bike. She's doing it with my dad's one now. She can make a lot of stuff. It's crazy.
So it sounds like a lot of the ideas that you have and stuff, you have a really good mentor to help you through too as you're going through stuff, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then I noticed that, in art class here at the school, you're even taking time to continue your craft, which is really cool too.
That's only because I don't have much time to do it at home. I have somewhere to do it here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing what else you create over the next year while you're here. And I'm hopeful that people that have listened to this maybe have some misconceptions or have a better understanding of it as an art, right?
Yeah.
And not as something that's like, oh, well, that's weird.
Yeah.
Maybe we took the weirdness out a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
if you want to see how it is, put one on,
Yeah, exactly.
See how difficult it is.
Yeah. And then, I think people have their own insecurities and people deal with those certain ways. Like for some people, putting on that mask may be the great way to get away from the insecurity. For another person, putting on that mask may be the most insecure thing they can do because of what they feel it says about themselves.
Yeah.
And that's all on them. That's never about the person that's actually the costumer or wearing it, right? The suitor.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty fascinating. So anything that you want to offer, close out, and what do you want to tell people?
If you own one, wash it. It's probably stinky. Your suit's stinky. You need to wash it. If it just sits there, you don't wear it, still gets stinky. You need to wash it. It's not that hard, trust me. You might be scared of doing it. Trust me, I was, because I thought I was going to break my own suit. You're not going to break it. Just wash your stinky mask, because people can smell it, and it's disgusting.
Well, I appreciate you washing them before you brought them in today. That way we're able to sit here. We have masks on, but it's not because of that. I'm sure they smell fine. Just the mask is because COVID protocols in the building. Cassidy, thank you so much for bringing all of this in. To all of those that have listened, we hope you enjoyed this episode of The Outlet with Cassidy, talking about suiting, creating. Hopefully you learned a little bit about today. Feel free to like and subscribe if it's the first time in listening to this and help support other students like Cassidy in what they're doing. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Cassidy.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Oh, hey, didn't realize it was over already. If you enjoyed what you just watched, go to patreon.com, The Outlet Podcast. Thank you so much in advance for your support.